Jets fans, something very interesting is happening around the NFL right now, and it involves one of the most intriguing young cornerbacks in football, Joey Porter Jr. A new report has revealed that multiple NFL teams have wondered whether the Pittsburgh Steelers could eventually make Porter available in a trade. And suddenly, his name is everywhere. But here's the question that matters for us. Should the New York Jets be paying attention? Because this isn't simply a random trade machine fantasy. There is an actual contract situation. There is an actual player. There is actual uncertainty surrounding his future in Pittsburgh. And there is already speculation that the Jets could be one of the teams that should at least investigate the situation. Now, let's be very clear from the beginning. There is no confirmed report that the Jets have made an offer for Joey Porter Jr., but that doesn't mean this isn't a story worth watching. Because if Pittsburgh eventually becomes willing to listen, Darren Maugi and Aaron Glenn would have to at least consider making the phone call. And here's why.
But before we get into it, if you're a die-hard Jets fan, make sure you're subscribed to Jetstream News. We're your go-to source for daily engaging content on all things. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers this off-season by hitting that subscribe button now.
Let's start with what we actually know. NFL insider Jordan Schultz reported that Joey Porter Jr. has emerged as a potential trade target around the league. The reason? Porter is entering the final year of his rookie contract. And despite the Steelers wanting to keep him, there hasn't been meaningful progress toward a long-term extension. That creates an interesting situation, because Porter isn't some veteran at the end of his career. He's a young cornerback entering his prime. And the cornerback market has exploded. Teams are paying massive money for elite players at the position. So Pittsburgh has a decision to make. Do they pay Porter? Do they continue negotiating? Or, at some point, do they decide that the price is simply too high? That's where the trade speculation comes from. Not because the Steelers have publicly announced that Joey Porter Jr. is available. They haven't. But because the uncertainty surrounding his contract has made other teams wonder, could Pittsburgh actually listen? And that's a very different question. Now let's talk about New York. The Jets have a new defensive identity under Aaron Glenn. And Glenn understands defensive backs. He understands what it takes to build a secondary. He understands how valuable a cornerback who can survive on an island can be. And Joey Porter Jr. is exactly that type of player. He's long, he's physical, he's aggressive, and he's already demonstrated that opposing offenses are willing to look elsewhere rather than constantly challenge him. That's extremely valuable in today's NFL. Because if you have a cornerback you trust in man coverage, it gives the defensive coordinator more freedom. You can disguise pressure. You can rotate safeties. You can bring extra rushers. You can change the quarterback's picture after the snap. And that's exactly the kind of defensive flexibility Aaron Glenn could want. This is where things get interesting. The Jets have invested heavily in their defense. They already have young defensive backs. They have players developing. They have competition throughout the secondary. So this isn't a situation where the Jets absolutely have to make a trade. They don't. But that's not really the question. The question is, would Joey Porter Jr. make this defense better? And the answer is obvious. Yes, a player of Porter's caliber would immediately raise the talent level of the cornerback room. And when you're trying to build a defense around aggressive coverage and pressure, having another legitimate outside corner can be extremely valuable, especially when the season gets long. Injuries happen, matchups matter, and offenses will attack whatever weakness they can find. You don't build a championship-caliber defense by hoping everything goes perfectly. You build one by accumulating as many legitimate difference makers as possible. Money. This is where the fantasy has to meet reality. Joey Porter Jr. is going to want to get paid, and he has every reason to. The cornerback market has exploded. Recent contracts have pushed the top of the market well beyond $30 million per season. That means Pittsburgh isn't negotiating in a vacuum. Every major cornerback contract affects Porter's asking price, and if the Jets were to acquire him, they wouldn't simply be trading draft capital. They'd eventually have to decide whether they're comfortable giving Porter a massive extension. That's a huge commitment, and this is where Darren Maugi would have to be extremely disciplined. Because there's a difference between Joey Porter Jr. is a great player, and Joey Porter Jr. is worth whatever it takes to acquire and pay him. Those are two completely different statements. Let's look at Pittsburgh's side. Why would they trade him? That's the question I keep coming back to. Porter is young. He's talented. He's already an important part of their defense. And Pittsburgh isn't exactly overflowing with elite cornerback options. So trading him would create another problem. They would get draft compensation, but they would lose a player they may ultimately want to build around. And that's why the current reporting matters. There has been reporting indicating that Pittsburgh is not currently entertaining trade calls for Porter. So anyone saying Joey Porter Jr. is being traded to the Jets is getting way ahead of the facts. That isn't confirmed, not even close. But the situation is real, and that's enough to monitor. Because the contract changes everything. If Pittsburgh and Porter were already locked into a long-term extension, there would be much less reason for other teams to wonder about his availability. But they're not. And as the regular season approaches, the pressure increases. Porter wants his future secured. The Steelers want to protect their financial structure. And other teams are watching. That's how NFL trade rumors begin. Sometimes they lead nowhere. Sometimes they become major trades. And sometimes they are simply leverage in contract negotiations. That's why we have to be careful. This could ultimately be nothing more than Porter and Pittsburgh trying to find common ground on a massive contract. But until that happens, the door remains slightly open. And this is where today's update gets even more intriguing. Joey Porter Jr. posted a cryptic message on social media. He shared a video of himself being introduced at Acrisure Stadium and added an hourglass emoji. Now, does that mean he's leaving Pittsburgh? Absolutely not. We cannot say that. It could mean absolutely nothing. It could simply be a player sending a message about his own future and contract situation. But given everything happening around him right now, people are obviously going to interpret it. And that's exactly why the story is getting louder. There is no new contract. There are trade rumors. There are teams wondering about his availability. And now Porter himself appears to be sending some kind of message. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's leverage. Maybe negotiations are changing behind the scenes. We simply don't know yet. And that's the honest answer. Personally, yes, at least call. Not because the Jets need to make a desperate trade. Not because they should throw away future draft capital. And certainly not because we should pretend a trade is already happening. But if Pittsburgh is genuinely willing to listen, you make the phone call. You ask the price. You understand the contract expectations. You evaluate the player. And then you decide. That's how smart front offices operate. You don't wait until the player is officially on the market. You gather information before the market develops. And if the asking price is ridiculous, walk away. If Pittsburgh wants an enormous package of draft picks, walk away. If Porter wants a contract that destroys your salary structure, walk away. But if the price is reasonable, that's when things become interesting. Think about the defensive possibilities. Aaron Glenn wants to create pressure. He wants quarterbacks uncomfortable. He wants defensive backs who can compete. And a long, physical corner like Porter gives you another weapon. You can play man coverage. You can disguise. You can blitz. You can rotate safeties. You can force quarterbacks to hold the football. And when a quarterback holds the football, your pass rush gets more time. That's how defensive football works. Everything is connected. A great cornerback can make the pass rush better. A great pass rush can make the cornerback better. And if the Jets continue developing their young defensive front, adding another legitimate corner could make this defense extremely difficult to play against. This is the part I want every Jets fan to understand. Do not expect Joey Porter Jr. to suddenly become a Jet. Right now, that's speculation. The strongest confirmed information is that multiple teams have wondered about his availability. The Jets have been mentioned as a logical fit by Jets-focused media. But there is no confirmation that New York has submitted an offer. And Pittsburgh reportedly isn't currently entertaining trade calls. So the responsible conclusion is, the situation is real. The Jets' connection is speculation. And that's exactly how we should present it on this channel. Because the last thing we want is to turn a rumor into fake breaking news. We're going to follow the actual information. And if something changes, we'll be here. There's actually a fascinating question behind all of this. What kind of team do the Jets want to become? If Aaron Glenn believes this roster is ready to take another step, would adding an established young cornerback make sense? Or should the Jets continue developing the players already on the roster? That's a philosophical decision, and it's one Darren Maugi will eventually have to make. Do you protect your draft capital, or do you spend it when an opportunity presents itself? Do you build slowly, or do you accelerate? There's no universal answer. But Joey Porter Jr. is exactly the kind of player who makes a front office ask those questions. So, Jets fans, is Joey Porter Jr. actually being traded to the Jets? No, not at this point. Is there a real NFL rumor surrounding his availability? Yes, multiple teams have reportedly wondered whether Pittsburgh could eventually make him available because of his contract situation. Is there a confirmed Jets offer? No. Should the Jets at least monitor the situation? Absolutely. Because if Pittsburgh's position changes, if the Steelers decide they cannot reach an extension, if they start listening to serious offers, then Joey Porter Jr. becomes one of the most interesting defensive players on the trade market. And the Jets should be on the phone. Not desperate, not reckless, just listening. Because sometimes the biggest moves begin with one simple question. What would it take? And right now, that's exactly the question the Jets should be asking Pittsburgh. Jets fans, what do you think? Would you trade draft capital for Joey Porter Jr.? Would you rather keep the current cornerback room and continue developing it? Or do you believe Aaron Glenn needs another elite young cornerback to take this defense to the next level? Let me know in the comments. And if you're new here, subscribe to Jetstream News because we're following every Jets rumor, every roster development, and every major move as the 2026 season gets closer. The Jets are building, and if Joey Porter Jr. really becomes available, this could get very interesting. Go Jets! Thanks for watching!